So, you guys, we had some technical issues again this week. Part of the issue was because we were taping outside and we got all kinds of outside interference and noise. But if you'll notice, there are some banging sounds on the microphone that we picked up that neither of us heard while we were recording. It was kind of bizarre and a little creepy. Wren thinks that maybe it was a ghost, which is kind of lovely since it's my house that we're recording from. At any rate, please forgive our recording quality. We plan to use headsets from now on, which should resolve the issue. We are definitely working on it. Please bear with us. Thanks.
Hi, and welcome to episode 8 of Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails. And today, I messed up already.
You did.
Let's start it again. Hi. God damn it.
Do you want me to just start it?
No, I do even numbers. Okay. Hi, and welcome to episode 8 of C3 Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails. I'm Wren.
And I'm River.
And on this episode, we are going to be talking about cauldrons.
Yes. So before we get into that, though, what are you drinking?
I am drinking water.
That's not a cocktail.
Listen, I have had a long day in the heat outside, so I felt I needed some water. I've been working on a pavilion sort of thing for my parents, and I was able to run over to River's house again, and so now we're recording in person again. Yes. So it's really exciting.
But she's too tired to cook for me, you guys.
Yes, I've spent 2 days outside my parents' house trying to make them this lovely, what is it called? Fire pit area with nice leveled ground, because their backyard is not leveled at all. It is the most stressful thing. But yes, so I'm drinking water. What are you drinking?
I am drinking this spiked sparkling seltzer. Wow, say that 3 times fast. From Smirnoff. Ooh, Smirnoff spiked sparkling seltzer.
You can't even say it normally.
Yeah, I just started it, so that is not my excuse. It is a raspberry rose drink from Smirnoff, and I like it. It's only got 1 carb in it, which is pretty cool. And it's pink, which I like. Yep. So that's what I'm drinking.
I thought it would be fitting to talk about cauldrons today since it's in our name.
I think so too. I'm excited.
I am too. I think this one's going to be a fun episode and talk about everything about cauldrons that I didn't know before.
Yeah, there is so much more to cauldrons than I didn't think that this was going to be enough to have for an episode, and now I'm afraid it's going to be too long of an episode. So I can start it off with what is a cauldron, and you probably found a definition too. My definition is that it is a large metal container for boiling or heating liquids over an open fire. What was your definition?
I have that a cauldron is usually an iron pot or a tool, any pot really, used for witches. Actually, I don't have just the generic. I have the witchy definition. You would say that it is a tool for witches and sorcery.
Okay. Well, it comes from the Latin caldaria, which means cooking pot, and also the Latin cauldrium, which means hot bath, which makes sense. And the old French word for cauldron is caudron, which I am not French, so that is caudron. That is not how they say that.
I'm sure all the languages we wish we did, but we really we can't pronounce.
Please
anything.
Forgive me and tell me tell us how to pronounce these things.
Yes, please.
And we will pass it on and correct ourselves in the future. And the Welsh word for cauldron is pear. That's how I pronounce it. I don't know if that's how it is really pronounced. And then you also think of cauldrons as being kettles. And so that comes from the Germanic word kessel, and the Middle English word chettle, and the Old Norse word kettle, Kettil, K-E-T-I-L-L. Did you also know, this is not real, it's kind of on point, that a large depression in the earth from a volcanic eruption is called a caldera, which is Spanish for cauldron.
Oh.
And that super volcanoes tend to leave a caldera when they blow. Like Yosemite is a caldera.
Oh, that's
it's a
really
curved, just in
like,
the shape of a cauldron.
But it's huge.
But it is absolutely huge.
Let's say it. That is a huge cauldron. That's
it is.
All the witches need to congregate there and do witchy magic in a cauldron.
I agree. Let's go to Yosemite. And there's also one in the Gulf of Mexico, which is theorized that volcano that erupted in the Gulf of Mexico is the one that caused the dinosaurs to become extinct. That's one of the theories.
Yeah, one of the theories. My favorite theory was like the Gulf of Mexico was created by the asteroid that
I heard that
wiped
one
out
too.
the dinosaurs, which is also very interesting.
The volcano at Yosemite, just FYI, it erupted 640,000 years ago.
Oh.
And the cauldron that it formed is 35 by 50 miles.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it's a big cauldron.
Yeah, did you get that in kilometers?
No.
Or kilometers?
It just says 35 by 50 miles.
Because we are not on the proper units as the rest of the world.
The rest of the world is advanced.
Yeah.
Sorry, people, but it's in miles. I don't know what the kilometer equivalent is.
Yes.
So there's history and mythology, and both Wren and I have information on that. I swear I have only had half a drink.
Yep.
But we did have trouble and technical difficulties, so I'm already worn out on doing this. In the past, I'll start and then you can jump in because I know you've got some good stuff too. In the past, cauldrons were just general mundane items used for cooking, boiling, or holding water. They were common in all households, witches and, I guess, muggles, so to speak, households.
Yeah, I have that they were created in a time where water could only be water and, whoa.
See, and you're just drinking water.
Yeah, and I smacked the microphone on accident. I have that cauldrons were created. Oh man, in the time where water could only be heated by throwing like fire heated rocks into like the containers, and so the cauldron was a main tool that they needed to be able to boil water and to be able to drink the water. Yeah,
I had that they were very important as they gave off heat and sustenance in the dead of the cold when humanity would have died at that point. So, and as I said before, cauldrons were used from brewing beer. That was in our first episode where we talked about that.
That one was really cool.
And usually by women. And it was sometimes served warm in those times too, which warmed the soul on a cold winter night.
Yes.
And I like my beer cold, but it does warm my soul.
Well, when you put it that way.
What else do you have?
I have that is something a little fun that I didn't know. That in the early, is it Celts? Associated cauldrons, like the early Celts associated cauldrons with fertility and abundance and the revival of the dead. Cauldrons were used in human sacrifice, which I didn't know.
I didn't either.
It's I'm not going to say cool because human sacrifice is not cool.
Well, you got to get that baby grease from somewhere.
No. Girl. But it's an interesting fact about cauldrons that I had never known before.
I didn't know it either.
So their victims had their throats slashed over the bowls or were drowned and suffocated in the cauldrons. So the cauldron of regeneration, of death and rebirth, the receptacle of souls, and the source of inspiration is also associated to the Celtic goddess. I can't pronounce it. Ceridwen
or
Caradwen and Bronwyn. And like with the Babylonian fate goddess Ceres, who stirred the mead of regeneration in the cauldrons of heaven.
See, they brewed too. They brewed in cauldrons.
Yep. So I thought that was really cool. I had never known that.
I've got some of that entwined in the things that I've got to tell you. So before the Celtic time, the Dagda was the high king of the Tuatha De Danann, or Danann, which is a supernatural race that lived in Ireland before the Celts. And Dagda had a magic cauldron known for great abundance. No one would go hungry as it was bottomless. It was called Undri, and it is one of the 4 treasures of the Tuatha De Danann.
Yeah.
And a lot of books, urban fantasy type books and fantasy books that you read have the Tuatha De Danann as being the Fae. One of my favorite series is by Karen Marie Moning, and she has the Tuatha De Danann in it. And I apologize if that's not how you say it. That's just, I learned it by reading it. And as you know, that people who read often mispronounce things.
Yeah.
The story of Bronwyn that you were talking about, it tells of the cauldron of rebirth where it was used to resurrect dead soldiers. They would arise the next day to help fight, but they would be mute, unable to speak. Some say this was necessary to prevent them from speaking about the afterlife.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that interesting?
That's so interesting. But why? I want to know. I want to know.
I know. And it's said to be the cauldron of Bran, the Blessed, who is Welsh, which makes me wonder. Another urban fantasy book that I like to read is about Mercy Thompson. It's by Patricia Briggs. And the main character, well, not the main character, the main werewolf leader is named Bran, and he is Welsh. So it makes me wonder if he might be like Bran the Blessed, and that might be where this author got that from.
Yeah.
And then the pagans believed that when a person died, their soul went into the crone's cauldron. And as the crone stirred the pot, new souls would enter and old souls would be reborn. And then also don't forget about leprechauns.
Oh, yeah. I never even really connected those.
Yeah, the treasures at the end of the rainbows are always depicted as being in cauldrons. This reminds me of a joke.
Okay, oh my gosh.
She just rolled her eyes.
I did.
Why can't Harry Potter tell the difference between a cooking pot and his best friend? Because they're both cauldron.
Oh my God. Called
Ron and Cauldron. Okay, that wasn't funny.
It's funny. I'm just used to it,
Yeah, my sense of humor is a little off, and luckily Wren loves me anyway.
Yes.
I have some famous cauldrons.
Okay.
You want to hear about those?
Yes.
Okay. So the Gunderstrop cauldron was made of silver, and it was found in a peat bog in Denmark. Beautifully decorated, it may have once been used to hold offerings to the gods. It dates back to around 200 BCE to 300 BCE. It is on display at the National Museum of Denmark.
Oh.
That's old.
Yeah,
So cauldrons have been around for a long time.
Yes.
And then the cauldron of Durnwich, which I think you've got something about too. It is said to be one of the 13 treasures of Britain, according to Welsh folklore. It is said that it would only cook food for a brave man. If a coward attempted to cook in it, it would not boil.
Yeah, I do have some on that. When I read that, it was very interesting because the mythology around Thor's hammer,
yes.
Only the worthy could pick it up.
Yes.
And it related to that with me. Like I thought of that.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, that's what I thought about.
That's good. And then I've got the Bittersea cauldron, which was found in the Thames River during dredging in 1861. It dates back to 800 BC to 700 BC, around the time that the Bronze Age was moving into the Iron Age. It is made from 7 curved sheets of bronze riveted together. And it is on display as we speak at the British Museum in London.
Okay. It sounds like we need to take trips.
Let's take a trip.
Let's go. Let's go
Girl
to London.
trip.
Yeah.
And we've all heard of cauldrons with Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And that kind of those stories.
Yeah.
So Shakespeare wrote about it in Macbeth. In Macbeth, the witches, they did the double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. And we all picture that, and we're all taught to read Shakespeare in high school.
Yeah.
And it's probably from stories like that the cauldron started to take on more witchy connotations that we have today.
Yeah.
What other information do you have about mythology?
I have a short, brief, little summary of the cauldron of Durnwick the Giant.
Neat. Okay.
So.
Oh, is Durnwick a giant?
So the cauldron of Dernwick the Giant is one of the 13 treasures of the island of Britain and was pursued by King Arthur himself.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It was said to be able to determine whether or not a man was a coward or brave. The cauldron would cook the food for the worthy man, and in an instant, while refusing to cook for the food for the coward.
Interesting.
The story originates from the Welsh tale of, and I can't say it. Oh man, Colquitt. I'm already off.
I mean, that sounds Colwick,
Alwyn, in which the cauldron is owned by Dernack, steward of the Prince of Ireland. Arthur first sent messages to request that Dernwick's gift him the cauldron for visiting Ireland when he was refused, and in that he wasn't seen as worthy. He was seen as the coward.
Wow.
So the cauldron
I wonder if that's
refused him.
King Arthur, because there was an Arthur who's not the same King Arthur of the Knights of the Round Table that we think of, but King Arthur from early Britain. I wonder which Arthur that was. Because
I'm not sure.
I read somewhere during my researches that the chalice, what is it called? That the Knights of the Round Table went looking for what is it called?
You
know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't think.
That it is actually a cauldron as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, cauldrons are all around, and we just didn't even realize it.
I know.
I also have that when refused a second time, Arthur's champion seized the cauldron, resulting in a war between Arthur's band and the Irish, which Arthur, of course, wins, probably because of money, because of power, and he's a king. And so the cauldron is then carried to Britain and then stuffed with the spoils of war, and now it takes its place amongst the 13 treasures.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You found out more about it than I did.
Yeah,
I only had a little bit.
It was very interesting to read, and it was hard to pick what to write.
Yeah, that is interesting. I've got symbolism next. What do you have?
I don't have anything on symbolism.
Okay, I will start with the symbolism then, and if whatever you want to say, you can jump in.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know that most cauldrons have 3 legs.
Mm-hmm.
So this may be in reference to the maiden, the mother, and the crone, the triple goddess.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that also corresponds to birth, life, and death.
Okay.
So the number 3 is also said to be important in a lot of pagan or ancient religions. Mm-hmm. It was a special number.
Mm-hmm. I know that we should do an episode on the number.
On the number 3? Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay, let us know.
It could also be more practical for practical reasons, because 3 legs is more stable upon sitting on uneven ground.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Which makes me think you said you were making that fire thing for your parents, and you told me a little bit about it. Mm-hmm. I don't think you mentioned it to our peeps, to our little peeps that are listening to us. It is actually going to be a fire pit above ground, like a globe looking thing.
Yeah, so I was originally planning to go to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever and actually build like a raised stone off the ground fire pit, but they fell in love with this dome from Home Depot,
which sounds to me like a cauldron.
Does it have 3 legs?
Was what I was thinking of.
It does have 3 legs.
That's what
actually
made me think about it.
I would have to go back and look at it. We just actually had it delivered this morning, but I haven't put it together. My parents were like, put it in the garage because it's the area's not ready to set it up yet. So.
You'll have to post pictures on our website when you get the job done.
Yeah,
I could go crash your parents' house, but I don't know that they'd appreciate that.
I don't think that they would,
They just don't know me yet.
Oh.
Give them time.
Oh, yeah. Give them time.
Okay, so that was why they have 3 legs.
Mm-hmm.
Also, ancient Celts, back to the number 3, considered each person to have 3 cauldrons within their bodies.
Okay.
The cauldron of warming, the cauldron of vocation, and the cauldron of knowledge. and they relate to the chakras in our bodies.
Oh, I see. I like this. I like where you're going.
The cauldron of warming is equated with land, and it goes to our physical health.
Mm-hmm.
And it is life and blood and equates to the lower chakras of your body, the lower 3 chakras. The cauldron of vocation equates with the sea, and it is your psychic health, and it is the middle chakras in your body. And a person that is of the cauldron of vocation, who is stronger in the cauldron of vocation, is very active in the physical world. And it equates with flesh, bones, and hair.
Oh.
Interesting, right?
That is very interesting. I feel like I say interesting so much. Take a shot every time I say interesting.
Oh,
Jesus.
We're going to make this into a drinking game. The cauldron of knowledge equates with the sky. It is your spiritual health. And of course, it is the head region chakras. And it equates with the face and the brain.
Okay.
So interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then another cauldron symbolization is rebirth, which you've already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And, you've talked about that cauldron of rebirth, but also the rounded shape of the cauldron kind of equates to the womb.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
That rounded shape. And it's also been called the womb of the earth, equating to Mother Nature and the womb of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Another symbolism of the cauldron is transformation, which makes sense because
I see that.
You put dead things into it and out comes sustenance to feed the living.
Yes.
So,
I never put it together like that. I put dead things in a pot and then I eat it. Like, that's just so weird.
Well, there's the title of this one, Dead Things in a Pot.
I guess when I eat food, I don't think of it like that. And I'm sorry to all of the vegetarians and vegans out there, but I don't think of it like that. I do eat meat. And so it's just kind of like, I just cook it. But I don't think of it like that.
Even a carrot that is pulled out of the ground is cut up and put, into a pot.
That's true. Yes.
And it gives us sustenance.
Yeah.
So that was all I had on symbolism. I think there's a whole lot more on symbolism, but
probably
that was what I could find.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved on to cauldrons in the modern world. Do you have anything more before we move on to cauldrons in the modern world?
I don't think so. I just had more about like the history and tales and like why do witches have cauldrons, and I'll talk about that after you're done.
Okay. All right. So in today's world, modern magic users often consider the cauldron as a necessary altar tool.
Mm-hmm.
They can be any size, take many shapes, and be made with many types of materials.
Mm-hmm.
They can be small enough to fit in the palm of your hand to large enough to hang over a fire pit. So basically, in this day and age, a cauldron is whatever we as witches say a cauldron is.
It is.
Yeah. It can be made from copper, pewter, stainless steel, ceramic, glass. You may have more even than that.
Mm-hmm.
They can be plain or they can be ornate, which the chalice that in the King Arthur story, which I still can't remember the name of, was supposed to be plain.
Merlin?
Well, it was King Arthur, Percival, I think, might have been the one that found the chalice. Do you remember in the movie Indiana Jones from way back when, the one with his dad, and his dad was dying, and they went and found the chalice, and it saved his life?
Yes, but I still cannot remember the name.
I can't either. It's going to drive me insane.
It's okay. Let us know if you guys can think of like what we're talking about.
Remind us what that is, because I can't remember it.
Yeah.
A kitchen witch might use her crock pot as a cauldron, which then you've got an electric cauldron.
Yeah. Nice, spiffy, modern day cauldron.
Yeah. The only real requirement is that it is shaped in a way that it can hold water and is made from a material that won't burn.
Okay. So basically, any pot or pan that you have, like anything. And
this witch's tool, the cauldron, is made from all 4 elements. So earth, air, fire, and water. The water is actually used in the cauldron. Mm-hmm. It's heated over fire. The material it's made out of is earth, and air is the gases that boil in the in the
That's really
stuff that we make. So it is a tool that embraces all 4 elements, which is very spiritual and very magical.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have using the cauldron, which I think probably goes with your why, which is have cauldrons today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I have spell work as the first one. Do you have anything on spell work?
I do not, but I do have a brief summary.
Okay.
Why witches have cauldrons.
Well, tell us why, and then I'll go into details on what I've got.
Okay. So cauldrons are sometimes cited on the list of primary tools of witches. So witches, are like, oh, you have the pointy hat, check. You have
Mm-hmm.
the broom,
Mm-hmm.
check. You have, crystals, check.
Mm-hmm.
I keep whacking the microphone, check. But cauldron is on that list, and I don't have one, but technically I do have many in my kitchen.
I think you do have many.
I just don't have like the traditional like cast iron, hang it over a fire or anything like that cauldron.
I have, which I had never until doing research for this, my charging dishes are cauldrons, really.
Yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can be a cauldron.
I agree.
Anything that you make it is what you make it.
Right.
Essentially.
That was profound.
Yeah. Anything that you can do it. Like, I know, but like it's real. Like whatever you want an object to be, it can be that. Like,
correct.
So a cauldron can be anything, but it is a primary tool of witchcraft. And like if you don't have one, don't sweat it, but you probably do. You just don't look at it like that.
Yeah, maybe after hearing this, you will look at some of your things and go, oh, I've got a cauldron.
And that's to say it could be like a small ceremonial object rather than like the big beast that you imagine in like the witch movies, like old witch movies or whatever. But they all have their uses somehow and should be taken seriously. They should be seriously considered before you do anything. And that's like really all that I really want to say about that, because it's very important to understand what you're doing before you do it.
I agree. I mean, we make light and make jokes and that kind of thing, but witchcraft isn't something silly. It is something that I take very seriously. It has deeper meaning in my life for me. But, so just because we're, laughing and all of that jokes doesn't mean that we don't consider it a serious subject.
Yes, it is very serious. I feel like everything that we talk about is very serious, and we do joke and like we're basically comedy, but but it is serious, and don't try anything if you're not educated on it.
Right.
Like, that's easy. Get educated on it, know how to do it, try it, you do it,
Yeah.
That's like one of my come to my TED Talk.
So modern witches use cauldrons in spell work. Given the cauldron's symbolism regarding transformation, using it in spell work makes sense.
Yeah.
You can place your materials in the cauldron as you create your spell, or you can simply hold them safely in the cauldron while you're preparing your spell. Especially think about spells that take longer than a day, and you want to keep your ingredients safe from cats and that kind of thing.
Dust and dirt. Yeah.
Yes, your cauldron is a perfect place to hold on to those ingredients. I mean, it can almost be an altar itself, really, holding those ingredients. I wonder if our listeners can hear our neighbors.
I'm not sure. Yeah, we're sitting outside and there's some noise.
Yeah, we're on my deck because we felt the need to be with nature today. Plus my husband's inside watching TV, but that had nothing to do with it. Be sure to clean the cauldron and remove the energies from the former spell before you cast your next one. You can also use cauldrons as a fire bowl. Cauldrons can safely hold ceremonial fire. They can contain burning objects. Like, remember I told you in one of the episodes that one of my favorite things to do is to write my intention on a bay leaf and burn it?
Yes, I do remember that.
The cauldron is the perfect place to place the burning bay leaf while it burns. You can do that with paper things too, and with spells. Some spells require we'll get into that later, but some spells require the burning of paper and that kind of thing, and you can do that in your cauldron. It is perfect for holding incense or smudge sticks or spell candles. during the waning moon, write down a habit that you're trying to break or something that you're trying to release on a small piece of paper, and you can burn it in your cauldron.
Yeah.
Speaking of the moon, we're recording this the day before the full moon.
Yes.
And it is a blood moon. It is a super moon. And some of you all in the world are going to be able to see the lunar eclipse that is going on. We aren't going to be able to see it here.
No, we won't be able to see it.
But the west coast of the U.S. and Australia, parts of Asia are going to be able to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called the flower moon.
That's so exciting.
It is so exciting. So
I mean, we'll get a little bit. I heard that we're not gonna see the full thing. Like we'll be able to see something. I need to read more before I speak. But I did see that like the moon's energies are gonna be different, and I'm speaking way out of my comfort zone because I don't really follow horoscopes and stuff like that. But I heard that it's gonna be in like something Sagittarius.
I heard that
something
too.
Gemini, and that this phase is gonna be like separating, and it's going to change so much.
Supposedly it's a very powerful time right now.
Okay, River summed it up for me. Powerful. It's very powerful. I just kind of rambled a little bit of something that I saw.
Yeah, me too. It's exciting. So I'll have to do some moon charged water tomorrow.
I want to do some, and I was going to actually.
Are you sure you're just drinking water?
Yes, I'm very sure. I was gonna see if I could actually borrow some a little jar or something.
Yes, I've got jars.
Because I still have yet to order any.
Lots of glass jars for holding my herbs and things, and you are more than welcome.
Okay, thank you.
So also it can be used for divination, and I know you've got something on this too, but basically you can fill the cauldron with water and you peer into the reflective surface. We'll do an episode on how to do divination in water. But you can use it for scrying that way. Yeah. If you drop oil or candle wax into the water, and you can read the forms that it takes shape of, as just like any other divination thing. So you can use your cauldron for divination, and then cooking, of course.
Yes.
As always, it can be used for cooking. Dutch ovens are like small cauldrons. I think that not just kitchen witches, but any witch, I bet, has a Dutch oven in their repertoire. I have a cauldron, which I hadn't thought of until I did this episode, for candle making. Oh. I make my own candles, and it's electric. So I have an electric cauldron.
Oh, yeah.
And I use it to melt my wax, and I make candles and that kind of thing, which I like to use. And I also have a cauldron that I bring out at Halloween, and I use it to hold drinks, and I like to put that food safe dry ice in it, and it makes some amazing cocktails, which that's another name that's another word in our name. Speaking of that, let me know what you all think. Wren and I have been talking about doing a cocktail cookbook
type thing.
Yeah. With some witchy cocktails and that kind of thing. I mean, it would be a long way off, but what do you all think of that? I think it would be a great idea.
That'd be really cool. But also, if you guys sit down and have a drink while you guys listen to us, let us know what you guys are drinking.
Oh,
I want to know.
Definitely. You can use a cauldron to make soaps, infuse oils, make lotions. At Yule, it is the perfect vessel to make hot buttered rum or spiced cider or spiced wine. My husband's family actually uses a cauldron to cook Brunswick stew at our yearly barbecue.
Oh, yum.
And we found a huge cast iron cauldron that we actually do put over a flame that's powered by a tank of gas, like the kind that you use for the grill, the propane.
Yeah.
And it is fabulous. And I think I've had you try some before.
I have.
Yeah, from our last barbecue.
It's so good.
And I'll post the recipe on our blog if y'all want to make a fabulous Brunswick stew in a real cauldron.
Yes.
That's what we do. If I can find some pictures, I'll post those too.
Yum.
But that's all I've got. And I think you've got some more stuff.
You generally talked about the rest of the stuff that I had. I just had potion making, The mixing of brews can still be done in cauldrons, cold ones at least. If you want to use it overheat, check your cauldron, make sure it can be used for heat. And you should be sure to check your cauldron to make sure that it's safe to consume if you are wanting to consume anything.
Oh, definitely. Food safe cauldron.
But you can make your potions in your cauldrons. River already talked about the divination. You pretty much hit everything.
Okay.
With the water and the scrying. Spell pot. It's like that's a whole nother topic that I want to talk about.
A spell pot? Interesting.
But we can talk about that in a little bit. And containing water, which we've talked about generally through this. I don't think I have to say much more. And like the containing water, even though water energies are very important, and especially in a cauldron. And then you also talked about containing fire and smoke, where you can use your cauldron to contain fire as well as water, as well as the incense of anything that you're using to cleanse and everything else. Like pretty much cauldrons are safe, air quotations, safe for any use of witchcraft. You just have to make sure that it's safe if you're going to consume anything from it.
Yeah, good point. If you've done a potion that's not edible and then you want to cook in it, definitely make sure you've cleaned it
out really well, re-cleanse it. But yeah, I think that's all that I have on cauldrons.
That I did not realize there was this much to talk about with cauldrons, but I am so excited. It was Wren's idea to do this because it was in our name. Yeah.
Like so. I thought it'd be really fun, and I had a lot more fun researching and finding out all the the little things like we used to use cauldrons for human sacrifice.
That I had no idea. That's kind of creepy, honestly.
I like it.
I like it too, actually.
I'm not demented or anything. I just maybe a bit,
maybe a little bit.
But yeah,
I guess we will see you next week
with episode 9.
With episode 9, which will be my turn to start off. But come check us out on all of our social media. We're at
C3 Witchy Podcast on all social media: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You can also go to our website, www.c3witchypodcast.com. There you will also find all of the links to our social medias, but you can also find our link to our Patreon and our link to our merch.
Yes.
And I think that's it.
I think so. Let us know other topics you want us to talk about.
Yeah, if you can contact us in time by next week, we can talk about a topic that you want to talk about.
That sounds good.
So thanks so much for listening.
Bye, you guys.